So when it comes to this Patriots team, I mean, we were talking about this last night. We're like, okay, backup O-linemen, they've got injuries to deal with. Maybe it's going to be a down game for them. And no, Drake May just continues to do. I mean, he was so precise. It was fun watching him field level. What did you see out of his play?
Yeah, by the way, we were all in Boston, obviously, yesterday. They love them some Drake May there, as they should, because y'all saw what he's capable of. I think the highest compliment I can pay him, other than saying he's the MVP front-runner, he's 23 years old, and he's already in that very small group of quarterbacks that there's things you just can't do. You can't blitz Drake May, best in the league. You can't give him too much time. Throws over 2.5 seconds, best in the league, just about every metric. The Giants played a ton of single high, as is their want, and he absolutely annihilated it. 12 for 13 for over 170 yards against single high coverage. So you look at this Patriots team from a matchup perspective, and you face them every week, and you think, all right, we got to put a roof on this and just hope they run the ball, which is a wild thing to say, given their offensive line injuries and that group is. I like their skill players, but look at them on paper, and you think this is a team we're afraid to play single high against, but it's all because of the quarterback and what he's capable of. He's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, I've said this. He's, outside of Matthew, he's my quarterback that I want to watch the most on a weekly basis. I think last night I was just so impressed with the maturity. Good team playing a bad team. Don't give the bad team a chance. Don't give the bad team the opportunity to think you belong. They go down, they get the field goal, then they get the punt return, then they get another ball or 3-out touchdown. The Giants go and score. They get the ball, score, kick return, fumble, score, game's over. Just never gave them life. And for a team that's relatively young, I mean, their skill group, it has some experience, but outside of that, it's a young football team. For them to play that way at home and not give the Giants any thought that they belonged on the same field, that was impressive. This team just week by week by week continues to improve. I think that's the scary thing in the AFC is this team only continues to get better. We don't know what their mountaintop is right now.
I thought Joe and Troy did a great job talking about Vrabel last night and this team. And we got to give Josh McDaniels a lot of credit as well with a young quarterback playing as well. I think it's the balance that this football team has. They make plays in special teams. This is old New England. And I know a lot of people don't want to go back to that, but they don't make a lot of mistakes throughout the duration of a football game. And you look, they're top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. That is the formula.
You know what it is, though, Marcus, too? Like, who's the stars? Who are their
by committee.
Right.
By committee. You think about so it's always fun, like when I talk about the Patriots of the past, right? Tom Brady became this seminal figure. And then there was just like a bunch of dudes that slowly start getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Nobody talked about it a lot. I think this team is built the right way because, one, they know exactly who they are. They got a young ascending quarterback that understands how to play the position from an intelligence standpoint, more so than his skill and his talent, because you talked about that when he was coming out of the draft. But I'm telling y'all, man, and y'all have heard me say this, that head coach on that sideline just knows how to get the most out of players. And I think that's the one significant trait that you see with New England. Even us being there yesterday, this is a professional football team. It wasn't a lot of fluff. It feels the right way.
The other thing that jumped out watching them aside from May, and this is going to transition to what you guys are about to talk about, they were hitting last night. Not just the Ellis hit on Dart, which we're going to get into, but like Christian Gonzalez. It felt like every single defensive player came in with a mission and made them feel the pain.
It's a very good football team.
Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, they do take a cue from whatever Vrabel's doing. Vrabel's intensity has just permeated everything they're doing. Another big story, and you mentioned it a little bit, Mina, is Dart not avoiding the contact. Again, and listen, this is part of how he plays, right? And he said that, but what did you make of some of those hits that he took in this game, especially coming off of missing 2 weeks of the concussion?
Can we get off of the Dart taking these hits conversation? I don't understand when it became okay for us who cover the sport to be like, hey, will you be less competitive? Can you go he's on the road, the team stinks, he's trying to get back into the starting lineup, he's going against another young quarterback, it's Monday Night Football, and we want him to just not be competitive? Like, yes, he's going to have to take less hits, but we're talking about this young man I would much rather have a young quarterback that is unbelievably talented and ridiculously competitive and worry about, okay, I got to take some hits off him. Yes, he knows that. He'll grow into that. I'd much rather have that than, hey, can you try a little harder? Can you prepare a little bit more? Can you find a way to be more competitive?
It's interesting because actually Troy brought this up in the game. Like some of it too, I think, has to do with him just learning the league a little bit. He's still so young in all this. He'll change a little bit.
Drake May took too many hits last year.
Yeah.
How's that working out?
It's interesting to hear him talk about aggression because on offense, I completely agree because the offense is going to have to carry this team and they're going to have to go for it and they're going to have to put up points because aggression on defense has actually been hurting them. And we've talked about this with the Chiefs. They're not really getting pressure with the four-man rush unless Chris Jones goes crazy. Yep. So they're blitzing, but the biggest problem is this defense is the blitz is not effective at all. I mean, I want you to look at these numbers, 2022 through 2024 compared to this year. They used to be first in yards per play. Now they're this is when they blitz. 31st. Second in pressure rate. Now they're 28th. So not only are they relatively ineffective, they're amongst the worst defenses in the NFL when they send pressure this year. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as to why that is. Yeah. Watching them against Dak Prescott, though, and the Cowboys, after that first interception, when he started tearing it up, I was thinking to myself, one, good offensive lines seem prepared when they're sending their DBs and whatnot, and then good quarterbacks are identifying the coverage rotations and figuring out how to replace it. And Dak Prescott has obviously been in this league a long time. You've seen a lot. And I'm watching this thinking, against good quarterbacks, I don't see this working.
Yeah, and it's magnified, MK, because you tried to do that against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens.
Yeah, good luck.
The last time we saw you
Your little
out,
corners who are good, but they're little.
Little corners, right? And they got beat like a drum. And I'm a McDuffie fan. I think he's one of the best in the league.
Tough match.
CD was too much for him. And you look at Watson trying to stay on George Pickens. I got to tape exactly what you're talking about. Like this used to be the calling card for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially when they needed a play. Dak recognizes it. 7 men up in the box. You know what Steve Spagnuolo wants to do. It's very rarely that they disguise. Go to a quick slant. Look at the space that's given to George Pickens. You got to respect that, but this has got to get a guy on the ground, make a tackle, and let's line up again. Again, it comes back. They creeping in the line of scrimmage. You know they coming. Dak identifies it really quick. Do a phenomenal job with this wraparound as getting hands on him just long enough. You throw the out route to CeeDee Lamb. It also was not only that those guys were able to uncover, they didn't get them on the ground a lot. So that's a big deal when you start talking about Steve Spagnuolo and you think about what this defense has been able to do. It was, and we've talked about it, it was Chris Jones when you did have a four-man rush. You move him around the line of scrimmage. They are panic blitzing now. They're not blitzing to just be aggressive, what we've known Steve Spagnuolo for. I don't think this team, this defense, feels like they can create negative plays if they don't bring an extra body. That's a bad place to be as a defense.
So watching that tape and trying to figure out the why, those two clips are pressure with man.
Yep.
This defense for years was pressure with
zone
coverage, with middle field open.
Dak was ripping that up too, though. There was one where they rotated to two and he hit the bender.
But the pick comes off of
the pick,
You know, so I'd be interested to see kind of where they kind of sit with the usage of when they're getting into their exotic pressures coverage-wise, because it often was that catch coverage with two safeties in the middle of the field. I also think this, we were talking about yesterday, they just can't find a way to get off the field in the second half defensively. And then when you look at actually how the games have played out, go back to week 5 against Jacksonville. They're up for it, Kansas City, with $1:45 left. Jacksonville goes down the field, scores. They only give the ball back with 20 seconds. Game over. That's a rarity. Week 9 against Buffalo. Buffalo's up 7 with 4:18 left. They would give the ball back to 22 seconds. So Buffalo marches down the field, chews up the clock. Can you guys put it back up again? Because week 11 versus the Broncos, once again, tie game. Broncos get the ball with 3 minutes left. They don't give the ball back. They go down, march down.
They were sending pressure, and the Broncos picked it up every time on that
week
drive.
13 against Dallas last week, they're down 3. Dallas gets the ball with 3:20. They never get the ball back.
Right.
Those are 4 losses when the defense has been on the field with the opportunity to give the ball back to the quarterback with multiple minutes on the game. Not once did they.
Which is why it's panic pressure.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So y'all have heard me say this a long time. You want to do that when you want to. Right. And we watch Steve Spagnuolo, even on some third down situations when we watched him in the playoffs, we watched him in big games, he still was pressuring from a position of strength. Now it's pressure, it's desperation.
Gotcha.
And now you don't have the same corner.
Well, you know, I think they're missing, and Mitch Schwartz from the Chiefs mentioned this to me the other day. Justin Reed.
Justin Reed.
Yeah, he's such a big part of those blitz schemes.
Yeah, because when you look at it, you try to figure out like who's missing, what's missing, why would it change so much? According to ESPN Analytics, Kansas City could see its playoff chances drop to 14% with a loss Sunday night against Houston. What is going on with the Eagles, specifically when it comes to their pass game?
Well, I would tell you if they're going to get one-on-one coverage on the outside, they'll be fine. I think that this is always the studio. I think that's what you saw later in the game. One, because they're in the gun so much, his feet aren't consistently tied to the concept of the route because you can't do that on a consistent basis. Two, they're not on the same page. That's an all-out pressure. Devontae breaks it in. He thinks he's going to sit. They're oftentimes calling pass concepts for the ideal coverage, and if they don't get the ideal coverage, then they're kind of at a loss for answers. So it needs a more consistent timing with his feet. He's ready to throw before the receivers are open, and they got to build concepts that are good versus multiple coverage rather than just a singular ideal coverage.
I don't have much to say outside of what you just said, that last part. And we've had the conversation about this before, wrinkles. They got to figure out a way to pre-snap, set some things up, not only for Jalen, but also for AJ and Devontae. And then the turnover on the tush push was big as well. Like, this team right now is imploding from within. You still look at the game and you say there are a lot of plays to be made by the Philadelphia Eagles. But it feels like they can't get out of their own way from a football standpoint. Now, everybody talks about the mental part and all of that. I got it. I understand. AJ not happy. All of those things are going on. But when you actually turn on the tape, they still have a lot of plays that
I don't love the play calls all the time, but they're not as bad
as you would think. Right. And it looks so bad in a game like that because you can't convert a third down.
Right.
And you struggling and you turning it over in situations where you used to scoring. But I still think Philly, it's almost like they got to see some shots go down when it comes to their offense. I don't think they are as bad as people think they are, but I also would love to see them try to create a little bit more pre-snap just to help Jalen and these wide receivers out.
And that's the offensive side. What about the defensive side, Mina? What's going on there?
Yeah, they just got physically dominated in this game, and a lot of that has to do with the competition. I'll save that because we're going to talk about Chicago, which is really a joy to watch. Talk about wrinkles. Oh, my God, what they're doing in the run game. But some of it is by design. This Eagles defense plays with the lightest boxes of any defense in football. And, you know, that's their style, right? They're going to let you run on them a little bit. But I do think you saw a bit of a vulnerability. The front got pushed around in a way that wasn't just structural. It wasn't just design. And I think if you go against a team like, there's not that many teams in the playoffs, but if they were to place the Bears again, for example, I would predict a similar result, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you think about them, they've got to get this figured out, and they've got some time to do it. But a third straight loss would match the longest losing streak by the Eagles under Nick Sirianni. What's the most important thing in your mind heading into this matchup on Thursday night?
Set edges is the first most important thing, and and make Jahmyr Gibbs get into the line of scrimmage, and this is where the Quinnen Williams has to pay off. Dallas last week against Kansas City, all of their sacks on Patrick Mahomes came from a four-man rush. And Quinnen Williams had a lot to do with that. But this run game is going to be vital as well. We all know the weakness of the Detroit Lions offensive line. We know the weakness of Jared Goff. Pressure in his face. We've said it 1,000 times. Another thing I'm be interested to see, though, Dan and MK, is how much does Demarion Overshown, how much is he used as a blitzer?
Well, I was just about to ask you because I feel like for Detroit, their best chance is getting Gibbs out in space. So do you send him to try to force him to stay in and pass protect, which has been such a weakness for them?
I trust him tackling in space more often than not, too.
Yeah, you do, but she means, like getting it out of your hand. That is, it's a real good chess match. This defense, Dallas defense, now can run.
Eberflus can coach now.
Coincidentally.
You got good players?
We knew about that. Yeah, it helps when you've got somebody who can actually do it. Okay, so on the offensive side, there's obviously people know about the two great receivers in CD and George Pickens, but what's something that this Dallas offense does in the play action game that really nobody else does?
Yeah, I don't see anybody else doing it. I kind of call it like this B-gap, stretch zone, play action chunk game. And what I mean by the B-gap is the A-gap is in between the center and the guard, and they'll go on this very long play fake and see where Dak is initially. He's on the hash, right? So here's this under center, stretch zone meeting down to the bottom of the screen. They pull the center to protect the backside. Look where he sets up. He's in between the guard and the tackle, essentially. So they've stretched you from a pocket, both horizontally in, vertically, and then there's that big in. That's how they create some of their chunks. I like the fact they can do it out of the gun, too. This time in the gun, there's that center pull, but see where Dak is when he makes the fake, and now see where he goes and sets up. He's already outside the hash, so once again, he's in that in between the center, or the guard and the tackle location. There's another huge throw down the field. So I'm watching this team just stretch defenses. This time it's a ball fake to the jet motion. See how far he is from the defensive line now, both vertically but also just width-wise. Now the defense is so worried, and it's a check down to Turpin. I don't see teams. I see teams going underneath the center. Quarterback takes it from behind the center, and he sets up on his. They're stretching so far, and it's not keepers. It's throwing it back across the field.
Were you now watching the gunplay action stuff, which is great, as you highlighted it, and thinking, man, I bet Philly wishes they could do some of that.
Yeah.
And for next year, but Clayton Adams, who's their run game coordinator, I have to think he's involved in some of this because the run and the pass look so much like each other. Philadelphia. Okay, Lions, let's go to the matchup here. If they play man coverage, that's a death wish against this team. And we know they play a ton of man coverage. We know they blitz a lot. You can't do that against Dallas. You got to just try to stop the bleeding and play for red zone stops. I was looking at which team played them the best. It was actually the Arizona Cardinals, who just played a ton of quarters. They play a ton of quarters normally. Light boxes, dared them to run it, put extra bodies in coverage. That's really your best chance against these Dallas receivers because they're so dominant and because the quarterback is so good against pressure. So big challenge for Kelvin Shepard. That's a pretty strong identity shift from what they normally do, but I think it's necessary for this game because you have no other choice.
And you make a great point. Shadi has stuck with the run game even when he's been successful pushing the ball down the field. I think that's going to be big for him as well.
What's going on with Lamar's production these last couple of weeks? We've wondered, is he hurt? What's happening?
He's got the same kind of misses as J.J. McCarthy does. And we've talked about the J.J. McCarthy misses, and you go, how? When you watched Lamar last week, you're seeing guys get open, and he's missing them by 2-3 yards. This is an out route to Zay Flowers. He's wide open. That ball misses by a good yard. Then you're going to get Mark Andrews on an out route underneath the center. The defender falls down. He misses that by another yard and a half. Then he's going to get likely on a crosser. This is probably the most glaring one.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's won 17 MVPs. He misses that throw by 10 yards. Yes, he hasn't been healthy running the football. Some of the turnovers, the holding on to the football and then the decision-making, that guy's wide open on the in route, and Lamar just doesn't throw it. And so I watched, and I'm like, mechanically, Lamar's never been this mechanical, technician, and I'm trying to figure out why. I don't know. It's just the misses are jarring when it comes to how bad they are.
It looks like a shooter in a slump. And it's like he's trying to be guiding it, not playing just freely. Like Lamar is at his best when he's playing free.
Sure.
And we've commended him on his passing and how he's progressed in that area. This team they almost look stuck. Yeah. Almost like seemingly. You look at the run game. I know Derrick Henry had the touchdown down the sideline, but then it went back to getting stopped in the backfield. Yeah. It went back to
there's a yard.
Yeah, a yard. So again, I don't know offensively if it's the offensive line is different, but I don't know if it's just not. They just not explosive.
Marcus, this team was historical in offense.
That's what I'm saying, Dio.
3/4 of the season.
They were explosive.
Unbelievable.
Keaton Mitchell is the explosive element to this offense right now. And I know you want Derrick Henry in the game, and I know you want to feed him.
More touches.
But you got to find a way to get him more touches because right now, that's showing up to be the most explosive element to your offense. And especially if Lamar is not feeling like Lamar normally does, you got to come up with that. Y'all, that was the answer when things went wrong for Baltimore.
Lamar.
Now let's get Lamar. Let's use his legs. Let's figure out how to let him free other people up.
All right.
Just look stuck.
So I'm looking at this matchup, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We just saw them get run, same play, over and over. So I'm watching that and thinking, can the Ravens do something similar? The Ravens don't really run duo. That's not their game. So you mentioned Keaton Mitchell. They have to go into this game with a mission. Everybody on this team is a blocker. We just watched those Steelers corners get thrown out the club, right? Like, we got to come into this. And I will say this, Lamar, on a couple design runs, did look a little bit healthier
Explosive,
last
yep.
week.
He had 2 runs,
He's got to be a big part of this run game as he figures out whatever's going in the passing game, because this is about matchups, and we know what to exploit here.
Yeah.
And Zay Flowers had him a little pancake.
He's a
on
good,
the
he's
Keaton
quietly
Mitchell.
like a
Zay.
Touchdown,
decent
yeah.
blocker.
I would love for Keaton Mitchell to get more touches because Derek, right now their run game is okay in this box-to-box type, tackle-to-tackle. There's nothing stretching really speed-wise in the perimeter. I agree with the run game, though. Until Pittsburgh tells you and shows you defensively we won't stand up everybody as tall as we can to defend a run, you got to make them stop it.